Anybody on our side hiding any shocking and fantastic abilities they'd like to disclose, I'm open to suggestions.
Wow, I bet Tony'd be really ticked off if he found out some of his teammates were hiding a few tricks up their sleeves.
Sorry.
The MCU Avengers are some of the greatest examples of how to translate characters from the page to the screen. They are unbelievably powerful, wielding some of the universe's strongest weapons and defeating some of the toughest villains the wide multiverse has to offer. We've seen the best moves from our favorite heroes. Or have we? No, in fact, even with all the power we've seen, our favorite MCU Avengers are hiding some powers from the comics. Let's take a look at the powers and abilities that the Avengers have but have never used in the MCU right now.
I guess that's the signal.
Way to go, Tic Tac! If there's one MCU character who no longer has anything to prove in terms of how powerful she is, it's the Scarlet Witch, even though she may now officially be gone. Wanda showed nearly unbelievable power in the MCU, including taking on Thanos all on her own and creating an entire fictional world within a hex, where she had a family and took the entire town hostage. Not to mention her entire run with the Darkhold, that allowed her to dreamwalk into other universes and hunt down America Chavez. Needless to say, Wanda has nothing left to prove in terms of how powerful she is. But believe it or not, there is one we haven't seen, and surprisingly, it's one of her most consistently used in the comics. This power is known as her Hex Spheres. Essentially, she can create discs with her magic that alter the probability fields of everything they touch. They are often used to change the tide of certain battles or cause bad luck for those she fights against. We've seen Wanda create red spheres, but they're often just used as concussive weapons. She's created illusions and definitely altered reality, but never with these tricky little circles. That could be a small but significant game changer in any fight. Overall, it feels like she just skipped over this one and went straight to her very popular brainwash a town into believing they're in a series of sitcoms so I can have children and bring my dead robot husband back to life trick. That one's always a crowd pleaser. Both versions of Ant-Man have amazing power thanks to the brilliant mind of the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym. Hank Pym's resizing technology has allowed himself, his wife, their daughter, and a low-level burglar whom he befriended to become some of the most powerful Avengers, Ant-Man and the Wasp, with multiple people holding both titles. Ant-Man can shrink down incredibly small and fight crime, retaining the mass of a fully grown man. He can control ants and has learned how to grow himself to incredible sizes. All of these powers are pulled straight from the pages of the comic books, and Hank Pym even changes his name at one point to Giant Man to reference the fact that he can get big now, not just small. However, with all of these incredible powers, none are perhaps more impressive than his ability to travel to the quantum realm. In so doing this, he has made incredible scientific breakthroughs such as healing particles and the ability to time travel. The quantum realm is based heavily on the microverse from the comics, a realm home to such creatures as Kang the Conqueror and other terrifying beings. However, one thing that is not transferred from page to the screen, or at least not yet, is his ability to do the complete opposite. To get to the quantum realm, Ant-Man has to shrink so incredibly small, but he can access another realm if he grows to an enormous size. This is a realm that contains such powerful beings as the Living Tribunal in the comics, and Ant-Man is able to access it by growing continuously. We have seen in the MCU what happens when Hank Pym pushes the limits of his shrinking tech, but should Scott Lang never hit the stop button when becoming Giant Man, we could see him enter a new place altogether. Thor, the God of Thunder, may soon prove himself to be the undisputed most powerful member of the Avengers. I'm sure there's other people vying for the title as well, but he's definitely close. The way Thor first appeared in his first solo film was dead-on accurate from how he appears most of the time in the comics. Several of Thor's abilities, his strength level, and heck even the weird winged helmet are straight from the pages. Thor's power set and ability to manipulate lightning helps make him one of the best people to have on your hero team. What's more, Thor wielded some of the most impressive weapons. Stormbreaker may be a little bit different from the Stormbreaker we know belonging to Beta Ray Bill in the comic books, but his first weapon, Mjolnir, was a straight copy and paste. Mjolnir can be summoned by Thor from anywhere in the universe, and it will return to his hand.
Sorry.
It is enchanted and cannot be lifted by anyone who is not worthy of wielding the mighty powers of the God of Thunder.
You're all not worthy.
However, Mjolnir in the comics wields even more impressive power that we just have not seen in the MCU. Though with the hammer restored, there is still some possibilities. At one point in the comics, Mjolnir has the ability of creating portals that could instantly transport Thor to anywhere in the universe. The Bifrost is a nice shortcut, but it's still a long road you have to take versus something like a sling ring or even the Space Stone, which can transport you there instantly. Thor had to give up these powers of Mjolnir when he was fighting Lord Immortus, a variant of Kang the Conqueror, but for a brief time, Mjolnir had the same level of power as an Infinity Stone. Mjolnir now is pretty cool though, breaking off into several pieces and whatnot. Let's leave the portals to Doctor Strange, I guess. The Incredible Hulk is a being completely grounded in science. Scientist Bruce Banner irradiated his own blood with gamma radiation, which allows him to transform sometimes at will and sometimes not into the Incredible Hulk. However, in the comics, the Hulk has some abilities that reach beyond the purview of known science. The world of mythical monsters is being revealed a little at a time in the MCU. We already have giant wolves and fire demons. Vampires are on the way, so I don't think it would surprise literally anyone to find out that ghosts exist in the MCU. However, we probably haven't seen them yet because of most characters' inability to know that they are there. In the comics, that is certainly not a problem for the most unlikely candidate to peer into the netherworld, the Incredible Hulk. Hulk has been shown on numerous occasions to be able to see ghosts and even communicate with Doctor Strange in his astral form. There is no clear reason given as to why he's able to accomplish this. It certainly wasn't done on purpose or unintentionally caused by some gamma radiation mishap. Many people think that the multiple personalities of the Hulk allow him to access this spiritual plane, or perhaps he was just chosen by some higher power to be able to communicate with the dead from time to time. We definitely have not seen the Hulk be able to do this in the MCU, but I'm sure he would like to. He could reminisce with Tony or even Natasha. He could also team up with Doctor Strange a whole lot more, but regardless, I think the Hulk wields enough power without adding the undead to the equation. Steve Rogers, aka Captain America, is the symbol of freedom, not only in the comics, but in glorious fashion on the big screen in the MCU. This character is truthfully one of the most faithful adaptations. He possesses all of the same strength, speed, endurance, and leadership capabilities as his comic book counterpart. However, there is one glaring gap in his skill set. The joke of Steve Rogers in the MCU is his man-out-of-time status, and how he may be lacking in certain things people of the present would consider common knowledge. Like most stubborn old men, the technology of this day and age likely has him thrown for a loop. He doesn't know what Star Wars is or how to fix anything on a helicarrier, though he could tell you it runs on electricity.
I'll put it on the list.
No, it's true that Steve in the MCU is a great many things, but tech savvy is not one of them. That, however, is not always the case in the comics. On the pages, from the imaginations of great writers and artists, Steve is actually a skilled hacker and has been able to get his way into enemy servers and databases for pertinent information pertaining to his missions. Wild, right? In the MCU, he definitely never accomplished this. He may have traveled in time, but I will tell you he definitely wasn't the brains behind it. It's not that Cap is dumb, in fact he's brilliant. He's maybe the best strategist in the MCU, but the technology of today is not something I think he ever cared to try and pick up. But who can blame him? Those touchscreens are so finicky. The Black Panther T'Challa has a long and extensive comic history, and in just one solo and 3 team-up films, he has left a lasting impact that will never be forgotten. We have seen T'Challa in the MCU take on several imposing villains and use amazing powers to do so. His speed, agility, and superhuman senses, given to him by the heart-shaped herb, mirror his comic counterpart to a T. He's one of the most comic-accurate characters in the MCU. However, given that his time in the films was a lot shorter than his time in the comics, it's safe to say that we didn't get to everything the Black Panther is capable of. During a time when T'Challa was helping protect Hell's Kitchen, Shuri took over as the Black Panther in Wakanda. Upon his return, an attack from an undead city below Wakanda called Necropolis was in progress. Instead of returning to Wakanda as the Black Panther, Bast herself chose T'Challa to be the ruler of Necropolis to control the undead wreaking havoc. T'Challa became Bast's Black Panther, better known as the King of the Dead. This granted him with all the powers of the past Black Panthers that he now had unlimited access to, making him all-powerful. We've seen the Black Panther access the ancestral plane in the MCU, but it's very brief and offers a momentary reconnection with a lost loved one. For the next Black Panther to have full access to the spirits of that plane would unleash a power never seen before. Are we surprised that Natasha Romanoff's secrets have secrets? Raised in the Red Room to be a master assassin, Black Widow was one of the only members of the original Avengers without superhuman enhancements. Or just was she? Natasha is a professional spy and killer, loaning her talents to world organizations like S.H.I.E.L.D. and the KGB. She is an acrobat, a dancer, and an excellent interrogation specialist.
So, Banner, that's your play.
However, the reason as to why she ranks up so highly above others to deserve a spot on the Avengers has never really been touched on. It may or may not be true, and until we have confirmation, I have to assume it's not. But in the comics, part of the Black Widow program run by the Red Room was to infuse the subjects with an augmented version of the super soldier serum. This means that beyond all of the extensive training, the Black Widows are backed by a version of the formula responsible for characters like Captain America, John Walker, Bucky, Emil Blonsky, and so much more. In the MCU, it's possible that this is the case. I mean, it certainly would explain all the multiple story falls and car crashes that both Natasha and Yelena repeatedly survive. But in the comics, the serum not only provides durability, but superhuman levels of strength and speed as well. This is definitely the most borderline one. Like, it's possible, there are definite hints, but some of the powers provided by the Black Widow super soldier serum just have not been displayed. Doctor Strange is a master of the mystic arts, and has quickly mastered an untold number of abilities both seen in comics and created fresh for the MCU. He can conjure portals, fire energy blasts, use telekinesis, and even found a way to access alternate dimensions. However, one overpowered ability that Doctor Strange has, but we have never actually seen him use, is telepathy. That's right, he's no Professor X, but Doctor Strange does have the ability to read minds, and in some cases control them. This power would have been extremely useful in certain scenarios, especially in the recent past, but nonetheless, he never brought this one out. There are a few possible reasons, the first being that this power was simply forgotten when moving from the page to the screen, but Doctor Strange learns too quickly for me to believe that. Second would be because Doctor Strange simply doesn't need it.
No. Oh, well, maybe, I don't know.
There have been times where Strange has shown such incredible intuition that mind reading wouldn't be much more helpful. He was able to figure out that Wanda was the one hunting America Chavez just by listening closely. Finally, it could be a moral issue. The ability to read and control minds is an extremely dangerous and pervasive power that, if left in the wrong hands, could be used for horrifying purposes. Doctor Strange may have figured telepathy out, but vowed never to use it, knowing the possible corruption that the power could have on the user. It's a good thing he chose to use an evil book to grow a third eye instead of mind reading. Good move, Doc. There was perhaps no bigger surprise in the MCU that one of the most powerful heroes was actually Peter Jason Quill, aka Star-Lord. This journey took a little bit of a diversion from his comic counterpart, who was half alien instead of half celestial. There have also been times where Peter becomes the literal Star-Lord, gaining cosmic powers from being thrown into the sun. He's been one of the strongest heroes ever to exist, and we barely got a glimpse at his cosmic potential when he was revealed to be the son of Ego the Living Planet.
My name is Ego. And I'm your dad, Peter.
However, we're not here to talk about any of that. What I want to talk about is the Scavenger Star-Lord, armed with nothing but two trusty blasters and his quick but sometimes dim wit. The weapons Star-Lord uses are slightly different in the comics, and I would have liked to see the MCU's take on them. Star-Lord used to use what are known as element guns, meaning they had the ability of firing any of the four elements at his opponents. They could be flamethrowers, slingshots with rocks, fire ice shards, and so much more. But in the MCU, all we got are some boring space blasters. I want an Avatar-style Star-Lord, and I want him now. So whichever weapon maker is still kicking around in the MCU, get to work on Star-Lord's element guns straight away. One thing that Quicksilver was really good at in the comics that he fell short on in the MCU is, not getting hit by bullets. Too soon? One of the fastest characters in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, though possibly recently dethroned by Makari, played a small but crucial role in Avengers Age of Ultron. He proved to have amazing power, provided to him by the Hydra tests with the Mind Stone. Though if I'm a betting man, I would put a whole lot of money on some retconning in the near future, likely relating his abilities to some sort of mutation. His super speed allows him to see the world in slow motion, and he uses this to punch Captain America straight in the face, and destroy dozens of Ultron bots in a single second. This entire power set is pretty consistent with Quicksilver from the comics, and he likely has a large assortment of unseen powers as well, such as a certain level of enhanced strength and also an incredibly quick metabolism. However, one thing we did not see Quicksilver do, and I don't know that he could have in the MCU, was use his super speed to develop a sort of quick intelligence.
You didn't see that coming?
In the comics, Quicksilver can move so fast that the rest of the world remains still. In this time, Quicksilver can do normal tasks in a single second. He has been able to read extensive books and even learn how to play musical instruments in the same amount of time it takes someone to blink. The Fox version of Quicksilver was definitely close to this level of speed, only instead of using his seemingly endless time to read and learn, he tended to steal things and play video games. Had Quicksilver survived in the MCU, it's likely his power would have increased significantly, just like his sisters did. To the point where bullets just stand still in the air. Okay, that one was definitely too soon. The best heroes always keep a trick or two up their sleeves, whether those sleeves be made of metal, leather, or even if they don't have sleeves at all. Which hidden ability do you think we will most likely see a character use in the MCU?